Hi everyone, how are you doing? I hope everyone is doing good. So welcome to another new chapter of biology. So this is chapter number 9, respiration and chapter number 8. So this is chapter. In for Maharashtra board. Okay, so this is for Maharashtra board. In CBSE, there is no respiration and circulation. You had this chapter in your 11th standard. So for CBSE, you don't have to study this chapter. You already had it in 11th standard. For Maharashtra board, it is in 12th standard. This is chapter number 8. So we completed chapter number 7, that is plant nutrition and mineral plant growth and mineral nutrition. After that, this is respiration and circulation. Now in 11th standard, we covered most part of the respiration, but however, I am going to give you recorded videos of this respiration. uh, okay, so it will be a revision also, and you can go through it at a faster pace. And then the circulation part will be new for the Maharashtra board students, because this we were not able to complete in the 11th standard. Okay, so let's begin. So initial part of the chapter is very comparatively easier to understand, and those are very basic uh, topics will be quite familiar to you. Some of it you have also studied it in 10th standard, and a little bit of detail was there. So we covered that in 11th. But however, I am going to cover each and every point again in these recorded video series. Okay. So in this video, we are going to study the human respiratory system, that is the anatomy of the human respiratory system. So the respiratory system has upper respiratory system and lower respiratory system, right? Above the diaphragm is the upper respiratory system, and below the diaphragm, I'm so sorry, the neck and the head region, the nose and the larynx and the pharynx is the upper respiratory system, and below the starting from the neck, you have the lower respiratory system consisting of your trachea, bronchus, lungs, alveoli, etc. So in this video, we will cover the upper respiratory tract, that is the nose, nasal cavity, sinuses, pharynx. Okay, so we will begin with the outline of the upper and the lower respiratory tract. So basically, the human respiratory system divided into two tracts: upper respiratory tract and the lower respiratory tract. So as we just said, upper respiratory tract will be your nose, the space inside the nose, which is known as a nasal cavity, the sinuses, okay, the pharynx, and the below pharynx, after will come the lower respiratory tract. Actually, not below pharynx. Pharynx and larynx are parallel, running parallelly. So you have the larynx, you have the tracheac, and you have the bronchial tree. That is the bronchus and the bronchi having divisions: primary, secondary, and tertiary bronchus. And then finally, you have the lungs, which are the main organs, in which you have the alveoli, which are the main part of the lower respiratory system that is responsible for exchange of gases. Okay, so let's begin with the first. You can have a look at this. So you can have a look at the diagram. We are going to discuss the parts of these diagram in detail. So you can just have a go through nasal cavity. Then you have the hard palate, which is made up of the bone, okay, which divides the nasal cavity from your oral cavity. You have the nostril over here. You have the mouth over here. The tongue is over here. This is your tongue. Okay, here is your epiglottis. This is a flap which is present as a divider between your larynx and the pharynx. So this is the larynx coming from behind. This is the pharynx over here. So I will just erase this. I will use another color. This is your pharynx over here. Okay, that is the food pipe, and then you have the larynx over here. Okay, then you have the nasopharynx, a common area, which is common to both the nasal cavity and the pharynx. Okay, this is the glottis area. So we are going to take this up one by one, and we are going to see the structure and the function of these parts of the upper respiratory system. So we begin with the nose first. Okay. So basically, the function of the nose is to warm, cleanse, humidify, inhale air, detect odors, right? So the air that we breathe, it cleanses the air, it adds moisture to the air, and the main function is to detect odors. Okay. So the function of the nose is very simple to understand. Okay. Then the nasal cavity following the nose. Okay, so you have the nose over here, and the nose enters into this nasal cavity. Okay, it's an empty space, air-filled space. It's a large air-filled space behind the nose in the middle of the face. Okay, so that's your nasal cavity. And then you have the nasal fossa, which divides the right and left halves of the nasal cavity. You have the nose, right? You have the nose, and then let's say you have the two holes over here. You have the middle septum, which divides the nose. You have this nose, and then you have the middle septum. Okay, so that's your nasal fossa, which divides the nose into right and left. Okay, here also you will see this thing. Okay, which is dividing into right and left, which enters into the right and left, two parts basically, two regions of the nasal cavity divided by the nasal septum, and this septum is made up of a bone and cartilage. Okay, we have studied it in 11th standard, the different types of tissue. One of the type of tissue we discussed was bone and cartilage. So cartilage is your soft bone, okay, which has various functions in different organs that they are present. Yes, for example, you have the ear pinna. This is made up of your cartilage. This, which is flexible, soft bone we call it. So that's it. That is made up of cartilage, right? So this is all about the nose and the nasal cavity. You need to remember the structure, and you need to remember the function. So basic function is warming of the air, cleansing of the air, humidifying the inhaled air, and the most important function is to detect odors also. Okay. Yes, and your nasal cavity, the cells which are composed of, which make up your nasal cavity, they have these ciliated cells. Okay, these brush borders type of cells, they are required for trapping of all the dirt and dust particles that are coming from the air. So as and when you are breathing or inhaling air, so these cilia which are present in your nasal cavity, they will try to trap the particles which are there in the air. Okay. Now we move further detail into the nasal cavity. If you will see, we have to study in detail these three regions: the vestibule region, the respiratory region. Just look at the diagram that I am circling. Respiratory region, vestibule, and the olfactory region. So when we talk about nasal cavity, this nasal cavity is divided into three regions. Okay, so the number one region is the vestibule. Here, as you see, this purplish color area, this is the starting part. This is the proximal part at your nostrils. Okay, it has skin, it has hair. Okay, the skin over there has hair for filtering and trapping dust and suspended particles in inhaled air. As we just mentioned, so we were talking about the ciliated epithelial cells. So they will be mostly concentrated in the vestibular region, where they are present at the tip of the nose for doing this function, for filtering air, trapping dust, and uh, getting hold of all the particles that are present in the air. So all the impurities are collected over here, and then the pure air is taken forward for breathing. Then as you move forward, this region, okay, this is the respiratory region. As you can see, this is the conditioner region. Here the air is moist, warm. Okay, so the middle part, it is highly vascular part. Blood connection are there, blood supply is there. Okay, so here for warming and moistening the inhaled air. Fine. And then you move over here. Can you see the yellow region over here? This yellow region is your olfactory region. What is the olfactory region doing? Olfactory region is basically the sensory region. Sensory means it will sense the smell. Okay. So because of this olfactory bulb, it's a part of the brain actually. So it is in connection over here. So this olfactory region, which you see over here, is responsible for detection of the smell. So it's the uppermost part of the nasal cavity over here. Can you see? In the middle, you have the respiratory region, and then you have the vestibular region. So these are the further details of the nasal cavity divided into three regions, that is vestibule, respiratory part, and the olfactory chamber. Okay, moving forward to the pharynx, now followed by the nose, nasal cavity, and then we come to the pharynx. Okay, let us just highlight the pharynx part over here. So this is the pharynx part. So pharynx part is basically the food pipe. So whatever you eat over here is entering into the pharynx here. We just highlight with the red thing. So this enters over here. Okay. So your throat basically is more commonly it is also known as a the throat is mostly composed of the pharynx. Basically, the larynx also runs behind the pharynx. So your throat over here is having the pharynx and a larynx. Okay. So it's like a funnel, muscular funnel, approximately 13 centimeter. Okay, from the internal nostrils to the larynx. Yes. This pharynx is again divided into three regions. Nasopharynx, okay, that is the upper region over here. You can see this is posterior to the nasal apertures and above the soft palate. Posterior means nasal apertures. So you have the nasal cavity over here. You have the opening nostril over here, and at the back, posterior means at the very back, at the behind to the nasal opening here and above the soft palate. So here is your soft palate and here is your nasopharynx. Okay, basically it is here, it is combining with the pharynx. The nasal cavity is combining with the pharynx, hence it is known as nasopharynx. Okay, receives auditory tubes and contains pharyngeal tonsils. Here also uh, the auditory nerves and the auditory tubes are connected over here. You have the ear over here, EAR. Yes. So you have the ear over here and the tubes which are there, the eustachian tubes and all the auditory tubes. Here it meets and then it also has this tonsils over here. When you open your mouth, you can see over here there are right and left tonsils. So it's the same area, almost here only everything is concentrated. Okay. Then you the function of this nasopharynx is basically it passes only air lined by the pseudo stratified columnar epithelium. Now, in general, when you talk about pharynx, it is for food. It is known as the food pipe. Okay, but it is divided into three regions. So we are talking about the first region, that is nasopharynx. So this nasopharynx, mostly the function is only passing of air. Okay, only passing of air, because here the pharynx, the actual pharynx is here which takes the food. We are talking about the common meeting, starting of the pharynx and ending of the nasal cavity, end of the nasal cavity and starting of the pharynx. So this is your nasopharynx. Here only air will be able to pass. Okay, moving to the next part of the pharynx, which is the oropharynx. Okay, can you see the diagram over here? So this was the nasopharynx. Okay, this is the oropharynx. And then the third is the number one, number two, laryngopharynx. So here now we are talking about the oropharynx, this region. Okay, have a closer look at the diagram. So this will become more clearer to you. This is the space between the soft palate and the epiglottis. So you have the soft palate over here, and then you have the epiglottis. This is your epiglottis. So in between the space, whatever it is known as oropharynx, right? And then you have the laryngopharynx, okay, which is near to the epiglottis. Uh, this epiglottis, which is having the cartilage made up of cartilage, okay, and from here the esophagus begins. From the laryngopharynx, this region, from this region, the esophagus begins, which is the food pipe which takes the food to the stomach. Okay, and the oro and the laryngopharynx. So the function of the oropharynx and the laryngopharynx is basically passing all the food and drink that we have, and also the air which is coming from the nose. So all of this will come into oropharynx and laryngopharynx. So basically this is the common region where the air entering from the nasal cavity and the food entering from the mouth will meet over here, and then it's a common place where the food and the air are mixed, and the cells over here, they are made up of stratified squamous epithelial cells. Okay, we have studied these types of epithelial cells in 11th standard when we were talking about the different animal tissue, that is epithelial tissue, connective tissue, and the muscular tissue. In that we discussed different types of epithelial cells, right? Squamous epithelial, columnar epithelial, stratified, not stratified. So if you are still not aware of the structure, you can have a look at your previous concept, or you can just search on the internet and make your concepts more stronger. Okay. So your whole pharynx is divided into three regions: naso, oro, and laryngo. These are the places, these are the regions on the diagram. Okay, and we have discussed the function also. So nasopharynx will allow only passage of air that is coming from the nasal cavity, and the oropharynx and the laryngopharynx will allow the air, food, and drink both. Okay, so that was all for this video. In the next video, we will be talking about the lower respiratory tract, that is your larynx, your trachea, your bronchial tree, lungs. Okay, so this is the whole of the lower respiratory tract, which we will be covering in the next video. So that's all. Thank you. Take care. See you in the next video. Bye bye.